Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump and today we're going to have a little chat about Symmetra. Now here on the channel we hardly ever talk about Sim, and that's because it's a bit of a touchy subject. The community's perception of Symmetra is kind of bipolar. Pros and high level players see her as basically useless.
And then look at me, you see this thing? This thing actually does not have a range. It can actually go across the map.
Oh my god,
yeah, it can actually go across the entire map, yeah. And it can do roughly like 75 damage, I think, maybe 110.
I mean, you're gonna have like at least 85% accuracy, though, right? I mean, like that's a pretty fast projectile.
Yeah.
How
No,
do you dodge
90.
It's moving so fast. It's like, oh god, it hit me. I couldn't even. I was trying to.
So I think Symmetra is actually insane.
Whereas players at lower ranks find her very difficult to deal with, and even some people say that she's overpowered. So that obviously makes any discussion of her or her kit or her practicality kind of difficult because you're speaking to two different audiences at the same time. Now, on the one hand, people might think she's good because she preys on how unorganized matchmaking is. It's always difficult to ascertain a hero's true potential or true limits when most people experience the game through a mode of playing that can sometimes lack a lot of the basic team-oriented way of playing the game. So because of that, people's perception of Symmetra can be a little bit distorted. That problem is compounded the lower in the ranks that you go, because the knowledge required to counter her and the skill check between players is even wider there. Another factor that people often forget to think about is that at the lower ranks, having a character that doesn't have to aim can be exceptionally powerful. If everyone's mechanics are slightly weaker, having Sim be able to instantly lock onto you with her beam and melt you can seem really dangerous. That also means that if you ever talk about any changes to a hero like Symmetra, such as adding more utility or making her more powerful, that really hurts those players who already struggle against her. Now I really can understand those concerns, but for this video, for the most part, we're going to focus on how you can make Symmetra better for everyone. I think it's important to also bring up a few other factors when discussing Symmetra, and that's the fact that people still one-trick her, even up to higher ranks, and a common defense for Symmetra is that on various stat tracking websites, her win rate remains one of the highest in the game. Now we've already debunked the win rate and one-trick arguments before on the channel, but I'll just cover them super quickly here. The reason people can one-trick Symmetra, or any hero, is largely thanks to the SR adjustment system, because if you are quote-unquote a good Symmetra and you're getting high stats, you're being compared to other Symmetras, and having your win bonuses affected by that. The win rate issue is a good example of why you have to read between the lines sometimes with statistics to see the real truth. Symmetra has a high win rate because when people do pick her, it's where she's generally most applicable, and that's first point defenses. So in the matches where a Symmetra pick works and you full hold, she gets a high win rate, and for the maps where it doesn't work, people often swap off her straight after first point. And seeing as win rate stats are generated every 10 minutes, when Symmetra doesn't work on first point and players swap off her and their team still goes on to lose the match, Symmetra doesn't take as big of a hit to her win rate as she would have done if she'd been played the whole map. So her win rate stat is inflated. There is a well-publicized change coming to the SR system in January for Diamond and above ranks that will probably make maining Symmetra and getting to high ranks rather difficult. Having the safety net of the stat-based SR adjustment system removed is directly going to punish people who don't try and make the best swaps in order to win a game. With all of that said, it's time to get down to brass tacks. The elephant in the room, if you will. Symmetra isn't in a good place right now because the utility of her kit dictates that she has extremely limited applicability. The core of her kit revolves in people walking into your turrets, building ult, and getting that tele or shield generator down as quickly as possible. She's good against slow death balls that walk into her utility. She's also quite useful at a choke because of her projectile, which goes through shields and can hit multiple people. But there's a reality about Overwatch that we have to confront. A lot of her best attributes don't matter a lot of the time. Her playstyle is one of the most easily counterable in the game. Sure, if you play into it, it's devastating, but it's very easy to learn how not to. I suppose you can use her to siege a cheese comp using her shield and her orbs to hit all those pesky targets behind a shield. But then again, you could just pick Junkrat or Mercy in that scenario, with both of those picks giving you at least equal or much better chance of breaking a cheese comp like that. Mercy is one of the best heroes in the entire game, and Junkrat can be so effective in the right hands understands it's not even funny. The real problem is, even in scenarios where she's designed to be useful, she's no longer the best choice for doing her job. Symmetra is one of those heroes that's difficult to balance unless you completely rework her, and that's because she's built around the utility of her ultimate. To me, she feels like she was designed for a totally different era of the game, when Rein was de facto the best tank, and Deathball comps were the undisputed kings of the entire game. That was rather a long time ago. The fact that she got an entirely new ult was Blizzard recognizing the fact that she didn't really have a mid game. Because she's a builder and deploys turrets, she was deemed to be way too passive, and they tried to improve that. A projected barrier was supposed to give her an extra footsie tool for duels, but we still keep coming back to the same problem. Other picks in her slot simply offer too much value in comparison to her. If we cast our minds back, Mercy was actually changed for very similar reasons. Old Mercy Res was such a potential swing in momentum, Mercy players had to play for that. They had to hide and be passive, and at a certain point, Blizzard were no longer happy with that. So they made the much publicized changes of giving her ultimate on a cooldown, as well as giving her Valkyrie. Now they've iteratively balanced Mercy down to a point where she feels powerful, but not completely outrageous. The thing about reworking Symmetra is, she could very easily turn into another Mercy 2.0, where she's just an absolute goddess. If Mercy got Res on cooldown, would Symmetra have Tele or Shield Gen on cooldown? That sounds crazy, right? But if you asked me before, I would have said that about Res. If you were to do that, neither the Tele or the Shield Gen could just be put on a cooldown in its current state. Maybe the Tele has like a 2 people limit or something. Likewise, Shield Gen would have to give you less shields, but be up more often. I'm not saying that this is what Blizzard should do with Symmetra. I'm just looking at changes that Blizzard have made to a hero that relied a lot on their ultimate value and applying it to her kit. One idea that Liam and myself cooked up together was that Symmetra could have a rework of Shield Gen on a cooldown as an ability. And how it would work is that Symmetra would have a castable shield AoE that emanates from her model. When you would activate it, every teammate within 10 meters gets 100 bonus shields for 10 seconds. You could have it decay slowly in a similar way that Doomfist's extra shields do. Having an ability like that would make her useful in the mid-fight. You could pop this new shield ability in an effort to get your team through a choke, or you could use it as a sustain tool for a difficult and elongated fight on a point. Something that powerful would obviously have to have quite a long cooldown, but it would definitely make Sim more dexterous and less passive. Now, we're not the first people to do this. In fact, there have been many Reddit posts and many forum posts on the Blizzard forums concerning Symmetra. One excellent one by Jay Sleazy really brings a lot of people's problems with her into one well thought out and succinct post. I highly suggest you read it. Contained within it are some ideas for new abilities or reworking her current ones in an effort to try and make Symmetra's utility more applicable. Kylese had the idea that you could rework the photon barrier ability. What they suggested was change its shape, going from the oval that it is now, and instead turn it into a bubble, sort of like a fireable Winston bubble that teammates could use to push or duel more effectively. I actually really like that idea. Another very popular idea from Reddit is the idea to let Symmetra place supportive turrets, and that means healing versions of the trap ones she already has. Now, if she were capable of doing that, that could be really useful, but it could also be overpowered, as if it's not tuned right, it could easily charge her ultimates way too fast. Also, if they work consistently all the time, it could be incredibly hard to do enough damage to eat away through all of that healing. It is a good idea, but it would have to be done right. What is certainly true is that I don't think Symmetra is in a very useful or practical place right now. And contrary to a lot of people's perception of us on the channel, we don't want Sim to be bad. We don't want any hero to be bad. I suppose all of that leads us into another conversation. Do we as a community at some point have to get comfortable with the idea that not every hero is designed to be, or even can be, as practically useful as each other in every scenario? Some heroes, just by the specificity of their kit, will never be as applicable as, say, a Tracer or a Diva or a Winston. The problem with Symmetra, though, is that I think you can make the argument that she's nowhere near as useful as the other builder character in the game, and that's Torbjorn. Torbjorn has one distinct advantage over Symmetra, and that's the fact that his turret actually has really good range. And And if you build around Torbjorn in the right circumstances, his Molten Core ultimate makes attacking a point that he's holding extremely difficult. So much so that you probably shouldn't even attempt to do it. You should just regroup and fall back and go again. Plus, it doesn't require his team to die for his ultimate to actually be useful. The thing about Teleporter is, it's great in concept, but to actually be useful, your teammates have to have died and go back to their spawn room. That's not a situation you want as a defending team. That's why other picks are more favored at higher levels. That's why you never see her, at least at the pro level. In conclusion then, I don't think it's that unfair to say that her place in the game is not only very limited, but that Symmetra has actually been passed over by the game moving forward. Other picks are now ahead of her to do her job better than she can. And I know that there's a lot of people that really like this character. And ideally, we do want to see a world where she is useful in the right circumstances, where picking her doesn't feel like a super risky gamble that could end up losing your team the game. Let me know in the comments what you think about Symmetra and what should be done about her. I understand that this subject is divisive, and if you do feel very strongly either way about this subject, be sure to let us know. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you never want to miss another video of ours again, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in good company. And finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and other cool stuff. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time.